I saw the former foreign minister, Sam Kuteesa, saying his duty now in this election is to wipe opposition out of Sembabule.
I just want to tell him that, when God gives you the opportunity to serve, make sure you use your time the best way. And I normally encourage the youth, utilize your days, utilize your time. The time for Kuteesa was there, and for me, I believe this is a new chapter. They said, she's the problem for this area. And for me, what I've told the people is make sure you vote this problem back, because the problem is being felt. A tree that bears fruits must be hit. Because there is something you want to get out of it. This is the time that we must look for the votes door to door. When it comes to the time for voting, please make sure that becomes a public holiday. Participate. Kanonye, kalonde, kakume, kabanje. We mean it. The only symbol that we do understand is the umbrella. Buliwola ba umbrella ticking. Temweko asabusonga songa musonga. Finish this assignment, then you will ask the questions later.
Our analytics show that 70% of the people who watch this podcast do not actually subscribe. We're now kindly asking you to press that subscribe button so that more and more people are able to access these conversations, so that they can appreciate the need for change in Uganda, they can understand the country we need, and also at a larger extent, the need to change the material conditions of all human beings across the world. Welcome to yet another episode of the NUP podcast. My name is Lawel, your everyday guest, and I'm joined by a special guest, Honorable Namugga Goretti. She is the Deputy Chairperson of the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament Central. She is the first opposition member of Parliament from Sembabule district from 1986. And she's not just a woman member of Parliament, she is a directly elected member of Parliament. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me welcome Honorable Namugga Goretti.
Good afternoon, dear viewers. My name is Goretti Namugga. I do represent the people of Maogola County. Maogola County is in Sembabule district. A bit special about me, I'm not a woman member of Parliament. I'm a directly elected member of Parliament. That means I contest with men. And for the previous election, we were 8, 2 women and 6 men. And I stood with a victory. So I want to thank you for this innovation on the side of the National Unity Platform and for reaching out to our people in a very, very special way. People have been waiting for us on different platforms, but I want to, first of all, appreciate our party, the National Unity Platform, and to you, Lawel, for this innovation. As I should say, communication is important, and this is the only way we can have this special message reach out to our people. So I want to wish you the best when, as you do watch this engagement, I should say a friendly engagement.
Yeah, thank you so much. But let's start from where you started in the introduction. You say you're running for a direct MP seat, but it's not just that. I think it is also the district in which you're running. So for me, I come from Western Uganda. So whereas Sembabule is in Uganda, the conversations flow to Western Uganda, and it's one of the toughest district for any opposition leader to run. The violence, the level of impunity there, I don't know. Where do you get the courage to, one, run for direct MP and also to run under opposition and actually succeed?
In a special way, I should inform whoever is viewing this show that I was a public servant. First of all, before joining politics, I resigned a public job. I was working with government in Masaka municipality, now a city, for a period of 12 years. I was a senior procurement officer and my profession is procurement. I also have a master's degree in business administration and management, but also some other training in different areas. The reason as to why I made a resolve within myself to resign and join politics, because everyone would ask, how do you leave a public service job, a very young, lucrative woman, then join politics? People used to ask, Sembabule,
where do you start?
How do you start? Where do you start from? First of all, Sembabule is an area known to people like Honorable Sam Kuteesa, very rich. Politics in Sembabule is a little different, that it is very commercialized, I should say. And Sembabule was known to be an NRM stronghold. Everyone was like, how do you get there? Who is taking you there? I told myself, I'm getting there by myself. Reason, for me, I realized there was a leadership gap. I was following the trend of politics in Sembabule. I felt people were missing out on something. You elect a leader, somebody goes for 4 years. Within a period of, say, 6 months towards elections, somebody comes back. So it was more of politics of money, politics of small action. Actually, I should summarize it as transactional politics, not leadership as such. I made a decision to resign and embark on that assignment. And I should inform whoever is viewing us that I successfully did it because I was so focused. I knew what I wanted, but basically I had a message. The message was one: we must ensure that we build a generation of leadership, not politics of money, not politics that is transactional, and also politics beyond this so-known family. It must be the family of so-and-so. And to this, I should credit the Honorable President Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. Most people, when you mention our president as honorable, most people don't want us to attach him to such a description. But people must appreciate our president was once a member of parliament, and being a honorable, he worked for it. So there is a way he has pulled the young generation to pick interest in politics. People used to think politics is to those that are well-grounded, from a very strong family, a family that has strong background in politics, somebody who is so rich, not knowing that you can come from nowhere and end somewhere. So I joined the politics in Maogola basically because I felt there was a leadership gap. And I had a strong message of, it doesn't matter where you come from. You don't need to be brought by somebody, because in life we always have a beginning. Those that do believe that they come from those so-called strong families, they also once started the journey from somewhere. So that gave me the courage to join politics. But I should say I began as an independent. Because remember, by then, for me, I started on this journey in 2019. And by then, NUP wasn't there. So I went there as an independent and began on the journey. So I joined NUP along the way, like others did. So here I am as the member of parliament for that area. And I should say we are doing well in Sembabule, and people have, the reception is so encouraging. I should say we are doing well.
Because there's something special about your candidature. So there are two factions. There are two kinds of people. One is someone is in a corporate job, is living large, everything is well, but they also know that something is not good in this country, I need to serve. But they're afraid to cross that, to leave their nice job as an ED or senior procurement officer, to cross to politics, especially opposition politics. You also have the second category of people who are in districts or areas that have been known to be NRM. And someone wants to take NUP there. They want to be an MP for NUP or any other opposition party. But they don't know how to start. They are saying, how can I stand for MP in Kashari? How can I stand for an MP in Maogola? What would you say to those two categories? Because you've done it, and I'm sure they would want some level of inspiration or assurance that it's possible and it's doable.
I should begin with the area of corporates, those that are in the formal sector and don't wish to leave their jobs to join this. I should inform the country this would have been the best category to serve in politics, because leadership is a combination of two things: administration and the political part of it. The beauty of somebody who has been active in service, especially in government, that person would carry on the experience of how public services run. And that's why everyone was asking, why is Namugga catching up so early? It's because I was in it. I was a senior officer, an administrator. The only difference is that an administrator and a manager of a small group of people. What you bring in politics now, you come to administrative skills, leadership skills expanded for you to face a large community. So once you are in public service or in a corporate setup, it is easier for you to catch up with the leadership because you are sure of the structure, you are sure of how systems are run, you are sure of the protocols, and it's easier to come up. Politics is about reading. It involves a lot of reading. For some of our colleagues who have been in the informal sector, at times catching up with that intensive reading is not as easy as is. However, what discourages such categories to join politics is the brutality. People feel, how can I be demeaned to that level? How do you see somebody being, held by police, then pushed in a car? How do I get to that level? So because of the comfort, the other side, somebody feels like, I have it all. Why do I join the other side?
Yes.
Then that brings us to the question, is politics about getting a job? Is it about money? Not.
Service.
Is it a service? People must appreciate that it's a duty of every one of us to ensure that we get peak interest in the affairs of how the country is run. Otherwise, it is politics that determines the job that you are at.
True.
My colleagues in public service have been complaining, issues of salary, issues of welfare, issues of re-centralization of services, because, everyone feels decentralization has been demeaned. Much of the work is done in the central government. Then they just, push these other small activities to the local governments. But when the constitution is very clear on how government should serve people, we shall serve through a decentralized system of administration. So you cannot keep complaining from the backbench when you don't want to join the front and come with the experience to tell people what is exactly happening the other side. So to some of our colleagues in the corporate world, it's your duty. Carry on that experience to this side. Probably we can change the politics of how people are handled. We are also against it. We don't support the kind of politics that we are running now.
I think there's also the idea that if the corporate person who has these practices, best practices, management, administration, distribution, if you don't run and if you don't do it, you'll be replaced by someone who won't do it, and they'll mess up the sector in which you want to thrive.
No, definitely. If you don't get there, there is no vacuum that can remain unfilled. If you don't get there, somebody else will fill it. But you will feel so hurt. I see them come to some of our committees. Somebody says, somebody was doing this kind of thing and is here. S4 and equivalent. Somebody cannot even express themselves because you've seen this. We cannot say we are so good, but we've observed that there are some of our colleagues who realize that we can do better than this in the line of leadership. People have been complaining that from time and again, from the 6th, 7th, 10th Parliament, the levels of leadership are reducing. We are when you compare the parliaments of the Waka Pablos to the 11th Parliament, people feel instead of improving on the quality of leadership, instead of improving on how our leaders perform, there is a trend that is not acceptable when it comes to the line of leadership. But reason, it is intentional on those that are occupying these spaces. We one time asked Mr. Museveni, how can you say that, for example, somebody to be a councillor in these sub-counties at a district level, you don't have to be with any qualification? Is there anybody who can believe that? Yet the official language of communication is English. But you are saying as long as you are trusted by the people, no, you can occupy these leadership spaces. Somebody goes there, you are a political leader in charge of policy, you are supposed to supervise the technical staff, highly educated.
I think it's yes. I think it's part of the larger debate that has been happening. And I think sometimes people are either being disingenuous, because the thing is, if you are supposed to, even if it's the whole, if you're our division, you're supposed to discuss in English, but also you're discussing things that affect really, and it's not just talk, is that you're affecting directly the lives of traders, of people in construction. You ought to have some level of appreciation of what needs to happen in that town or city.
And I have said, the parliament you have to look at these two different things. Parliament is at a higher level, but the districts, the mayor, the town councils, the cities, that is the lower part of administration. The work that is done in Parliament is equally done at these lower levels. True. The only difference is the magnitude of the assignment that you do handle. So, there is a way we've demeaned, we've reduced the importance of leadership to the extent that anybody can, even to the members of Parliament. How can you say that it should be S6 or equivalent? Then you come to Parliament, for example, I can give you an example of the NUP. You come as the leading party in the opposition, you must get a cabinet of 30 members of Parliament. You want a cabinet minister, shadow for finance, for energy, for health.
Budget or economics.
Yes. Where are you going to get them? Finance, where are you going to get them? You must get an alternative to who is that one? The Minister for Finance? Kasaija. You must get an alternative to Kasaija. You must get an alternative to Nankabirwa. Much as also Mr. Museveni has done us a disservice, because that also, you are on his part, you also at times look at the quality of the ministers he brings, people who have even failed to read statements on the floor of Parliament. That one also speaks
without
volumes.
Fear of contradiction, you'd say the head of cabinet business may not be the most competent.
You see,
the Prime Minister. Yes.
The Prime Minister, people have questions about some of our colleagues that are occupying these spaces. So this is the only country that does not value the essence, the importance, or the magnitude of leadership towards towards the economic, social, and political welfare of the citizens. Otherwise, if we were valuing this, we would have put it to slightly a higher level. There was Parliament sometime back had a proposal of an amendment to at least have a district councillor at a level of a senior for somebody who can at least speak English. You come as a councillor, you are appointed the Minister for Finance. What happens? Minister for Finance who cannot even read a bank statement? So I should say the reason as to why leadership is losing meaning to some extent, and the reason as to why everybody feels, no matter what they are, they can fill these spaces, is because of the way things have been handled.
Yeah, but I also think your conversation is very important, especially given that we are going to be part of a new government. It is important that we are credible, and we have capacity to turn things around, and that should reflect in the kinds of leaders we have. But maybe the pushback I have on that is continuously we have also seen people who have come to be known as the prepared, something like that. But not that they are not competent to legislate or to deliver, but in terms of their, I don't say ethics or moral standing, integrity. I think that's the right word. They don't seem to be trusted, and I think that has an effect on the voter to say we have voted these people, but we can no longer count on them to do their job. What would you say about, because you've been in Parliament, I'm sure you've seen some of these things. What would you say about that?
Much as we've had disappointments from colleagues here and there, that does not mean that we should not have a standard. We should have a basic standard of who should occupy this space, because moral degeneration and because that is in everywhere, in every sector. That is why we have laws. We have punitive measures on those that have performed below the expected levels. You have laws in place for disciplinary action to be taken against those that have not performed to the expectation of whoever expects a service. So I should say, yes, people might say, even those that are educated up to a certain level, who would have thought that would have lived exemplarily, have performed, have acted differently. That does not mean that you demean this position to a level of saying, that is purely different. So I should say, it comes back to us as leaders. But also, you should do, this does not exonerate, or you cannot say that Mr. Museveni must be exonerated from some of this mess. True. It is intentional. It is intentional. Even these that you see of our colleagues who you say, Gundi Yalia, some of those things, it's because Mr. Museveni is using money as a tool to suppress the opposition. That also happens. Even I should give you an example. When it comes to committees of Parliament, the way we've said to the ministers, you find very educated, intelligent, and people with integrity in Parliament. They are not given those spaces to occupy them, because on the side of Mr. Museveni, for him is okay with somebody who can be given direction on whatever to do than people who can think for themselves. That is also another problem. You don't give people spaces to occupy them because they have the capacity to, but because they can they are loyal. Reality is good, but it must be accompanied with some other characters, of some other qualifications. It's not all about reality alone. So I should say this is going to affect the whole country, but that doesn't stop the so-called corporate colleagues in the corporate sector from joining politics. Let's change this while we are part of it, because you cannot change this when you shy away from joining the whole thing. Otherwise, we are going to leave politics to whoever can take a risk too, and at the end of the day, we shall regret. Then, when it comes to some of these areas where people think, in the Western, if you hold an NRM card or an NRM ticket, all is done. Opposition, you cannot compete. Yes, I agree. When you come to politics, for example, in the Western region, first of all, it is very expensive. Number two, people look at it as a risk, because of the commercialization, those that occupy these spaces feel you cannot do it without money. And also that has, to some extent, it has affected the Western region from getting the leaders that they deserve. That has also affected them. But that doesn't stop us from beginning on the journey. However, somebody will ask, how do I invest my little money? My little money to go and just, for purposes of participation. But you cannot begin on a journey. You cannot shy away from beginning a journey and you say, how do I stop in the middle? We must have a starting point. That's why I make a clerical and humble call to political parties. One will say, why do you always talk about Mr. Museveni? Political parties it has been the intention of government not to strengthen political parties. Most of people have been talking about IPOD and the objectives of IPOD when they were making amendments in the Political Parties and Organizations Act. For me, I asked them, is it about the money alone? Or we should also look at the objective of the IPOD. The whole thing was to strengthen political parties.
Yes.
If these political parties were strengthened, we would have the capacity to fund some of these candidates that come up in some of these areas that seem to be risky. But also to ask ourselves, why should politics be about man alone? Could be that's the reason as to why colleagues come to parliament after having spent, because in the Western region, they'll tell you to really win an election that side, it's between 1.2 billion to 1.2 to 2 billion.
That's money a young person has never heard about.
That's money a young person has never heard about. But even the person who invests in that money, where do they get it? They will borrow, they will sell property. What do you expect of them when they come to parliament? So that becomes a business. You will not ask somebody to be accountable to you. Why haven't you come back to the people? Why are you getting money from Mr. Museveni? Why are you making deals? Because somebody is cornered. Somebody must look for their money.
Yes.
You are vulnerable. 2 billion is a lot of money. If somebody would ask, how much do you get in parliament? Because people come with different perceptions of how members of parliament are paid. Getting to that space, things are totally different. Out of the frustration, our people lose out on the essence of provision of service, and then we just hold titles because we were elected members of parliament. So I should for me, my thinking was, if we are to manage the politics of this country, let's get back to the board and decommercialize politics. It cannot come within a day, within 2 days. I know it's gradual, but we can do it. However, if it's Mr. Museveni occupying that seat, I doubt whether you can achieve it. But we have the hope. This government, their days are very numbered. 2026, it will be a totally different story. That's why we tell our people that for us as the National Unity Platform, it's about building a new Uganda. We are marking a journey to a new Uganda now. Things must change. You cannot commercialize politics. You cannot have leadership of transaction, and you think you can, have credible leaders. You're talking about corruption. What brings this? Do you have, as a citizen, the moral authority to ask why members of parliament are given 100 million, and when it comes to you, you want somebody to give you money? So because you ask for money, they must look for money from all corners. But I should encourage the young generation, because you saw this thing of 300 million, 3 million of nomination. How many can afford to get 3 million? Can I give you an example? In public service, an entry job, say you are a human resource officer, the best somebody is paid is close to 800,000. 800,000. I'm looking at the public sector. When it comes to the private sector, to the private sector, for these are colleagues working in banks, for these are colleagues working in small shops and these, where does somebody get the 3 million to join politics? Then one will ask, Honorable Namugga, why doesn't somebody work for quite some time so that we have people who have money in politics? Even we've had the most corrupt as the richest. True. Somebody is so rich but very corrupt. So this the moral integrity is about an individual. There are those that have too much but highly corrupt. We've seen them. We've seen the people who have money, they have gone ahead to own gold mines. They've gone ahead to own most of the things in the country. But you find them degazetting forests.
Yes.
No, very dubious transactions. So I should say we must come back and think about how a country can gain out of good leadership. Because I can give an example. When you go to Parliament, an area where we've spent close to 20% of public resources is governance and security. So if we spend public resources, taxpayers' money in governance, how is the taxpayer achieving out of this? So it is our duty to come back to our senses and give leadership the value that it does deserve. Otherwise, if we don't do that, I'm telling you, the mess that there is in this country cannot be solved in the next 20 years. So it's a journey that we must work together as citizens of Uganda. But I thank the youth this time round. They have come up to say, no, enough is enough. Yes, there is unemployment in this country, but we think if we get a better leader, we can have a better direction for this country. Yes, they are giving them the money, but kudos and thanks to those that have stood and say, much as we get that money, get the 50,000, this is taxpayers' money, use it. Go out there and spread the message for change. We should also agitate for that, because what do? Somebody brings the money. You've seen these ghetto structures. Mr. Museveni took billions of money. You go to a ghetto and give 1 billion shillings. Then thereafter, somebody falls sick, they go to Mulago, they cannot access, basic medical care.
Throughout the last 5 years, there have been issues of corruption across the country, but it was much worse against the leadership of Parliament, and we had young people protesting. I've also heard rumors, you don't have to confirm it, that currently in Parliament, there's no money even for committees to sit because the Speaker took that money. There are many people who think that Parliament no longer serves its purpose. Their hands are dirty. They can't hold any other institution accountable. What's your view about that, and why are you still running?
I want to inform the country that if there is an area that has been messed up in this country, is the budget of the Republic of Uganda. It's not only Parliament that its hands are tied. No, it cuts across all agencies of government. We passed a budget of 72 trillion for the financial year 2023-24. The same thing of 2024, 72 was for 2024-25. The same thing for 25-26. It was just a difference of billions of money, 72 trillion. But the actual was close to 47.5 trillion, the actual budget. But one would ask, how much is spent on recurrent expenditure and how much is spent on development? I should inform everyone who is concerned about the affairs of this country. When you look at the structure of our budget and the way we manage our resource envelope, every public office in this country has underperformed. We have reached a level of where government can even fail to pay salary. I'm the Deputy Chair Public Accounts Committee Central. When we are looking at the consolidated, the Auditor General's report on the consolidated accounts of government, we realize that government borrowed close to 713 billion to pay salaries for public servants. So we are spending most of our budget in recurrent expenditure. 80% of your money is spent on recurrent. It's only 20% that you spend on development. That's why there is a public outcry when it comes to domestic arrears. The Minister of Works comes out and tells you know what? We cannot do anything. So and so started on the road, we awarded this contract, but works have not commenced. For those that have commenced, we cannot continue because we are frustrated. There is no money. You've heard this. So it's not about Parliament alone. As a country, we are at loss because you pay public servants for no work done. Somebody comes in office where they cannot even afford to buy the stationery. There is no stationery. People just come to sit in office and go back. And this has also killed the innovation on the side of public servants. Take it on your part. You come to office, no business. What do you do? Can you sit on your chair for the whole day? No. So I should inform you, it is a debate that deserves public attention.
Participation, yes.
When it comes public attention and participation, when it comes to the national budget and how your resource envelope is distributed across sectors. So I should say Parliament is just, it's just something so small.
as far as government is concerned and the executive, and I'm sure a majority of our viewers are convinced that this government can't offer anything anymore that it has not offered in the past 40 years. But I also think that there is need for us to change that parliament fundamentally. There's something wrong with it, because at some point, if everything else is wrong, you expect the parliament to be done to check the executive and other arms. I think that comprehensively, whereas there's no money for this, there's no money for that, the behavior of the leadership of parliament itself, and also the majority members of parliament, and I can be honest with you. So we've talked about academic qualifications. If you look at most of them actually have, some you have good percentage with masters, some with PhD. But apart, I don't want to praise you because you're here or to kusudia, but you are one of the few that stands and participates, writes minority reports, but majority of them are not doing what they're supposed to do. Most of them are colliding to take money from executive. Their hands are dirty. And what I'm pushing against you is to say that there are many Ugandans across board who are not comfortable with the state of parliament as is, and that there is need for it to change. And they're interested in why. That's why I was asking, why are you running again for MP? And maybe you think that it's possible. Of course, in the new Uganda, things are going to be different. But I also think Ugandans want some level of reassurance that as we go ahead in the new Uganda, the parliament is going to be different, and they can have renewed hope in the people they vote to parliament. You're the one who's in the field, but you find many people of Tualon and we vote for them, but there's nothing they do. You find that an MP, a constituent of certain districts has hope in you, who is the MP for Maogola. And they're like, but you have your own member of parliament. So I think I want to push that to you to, I think at some point, give people reassurance that moving forward, perhaps in Uganda, things are going to be different.
I should admit that people have lost trust in their leaders. Number two, we have a challenge when it comes to the three arms of government. You are aware we have the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. These three arms have never been independent. The doctrine of suppression of powers when it comes to these three arms has lost importance. And that's where the whole problem is coming from. I want to inform the country that we must know who is supposed to do what, who has which mandate. For example, when it comes to issues of allocation of resources, issues of budgeting, how does it flow? Actually, I should say it's the executive in the kitchen with the technical teams that feed the executive. Parliament just receives what has been cooked from the executive. But where does the problem come from? Independence of institutions of government. I can give you an example. We were making an assessment. No, there was a report on the performance, government report, on the performance of the National Development Plan 3. The time we closed from National Development Plan 3 to National Development Plan 4, they gave a performance of 17%. That was close to the third quarter. Close to the fourth quarter, on closure of National Development Plan 3, performance was close to 37%. Now the NRM comes out and says, performance of the NRM manifesto is at 57%. One asks, how? What did you do? How do you reconcile these two? Now, we are facing a challenge that government now that is meant to operate as a formal setup, it operates as an informal setup. We don't follow the plans. Yes, we can amend. As you are aware, a national development plan can be amended after a period of 2.5 years, depending on the needs that have come up.
Yes.
A national development plan is not cast in stone. But still, there are so many things that are done outside the plan. Yeah. So the whole essence of planning loses meaning.
Yes.
Once you start operating as a formal setup in a formal setup, that means you will never give services to the people. And this is the issue of research loses meaning, because the moment government comes up on what we shall do within a specified period of 5 years, this means these activities are researched. productive investment. We borrow money because we think once you invest in this area productively, this is how we shall gain out of it. So the challenge that we are facing is because of lack of independence in these institutions of government, the executive has deliberately frustrated the performance of the judiciary and the legislature. That's why whoever followed the Right Honorable Anita Among, when they were campaigning for the SEC positions at Kololo, she said, I should be voted as the national, what was a position?
National Vice Chair.
National Vice Chair for
Eastern Uganda.
No, for the whole country.
Yes.
National Vice Chair for the whole country. She said, I've done whatever Mzee wants in Parliament. That was one of the points that she pulled out. I've been good for the president. I have pushed whatever he has wanted, I've done. Then one asks, are you supposed to do what Mr. Museveni wants, or you are supposed to serve the will of the people? And I should inform the country, Parliament is the only institution where people felt they can be best represented because these are their representatives. We are the ones who would have afforded and managed to at least reduce the gap between the people and the way services are rendered. So if a speaker can come up and say, please people, vote me for this SEC position because I'll not give headache to my president. When he brings a bill on UPDF and these things of the court martial, I'll just pass it without any, you see. When it comes to these coffee things, when it means bringing the SFC, they will beat them and we shall allow. So our hands are tight when it comes to what should be done and when. Sometime back you saw when Mr. Museveni returned the budget, it was for the financial year 24-25. This budget that we are, the one for last financial year, it was close to 750 billion, where members of parliament they made a decision to allocate money on all those projects that had been incomplete. They were like, how can you afford to have these idle investments? You start on a school, it stops in the middle. Then because of political, you scatter money here and there. Why don't we have this complete? It serves the people. Then we begin on something else. The man says, no, this is not how things should be run. Please put the money where I want it.
Right,
then somebody says, no, when you go to parliament, appropriation is the role of parliament. Then one asks, are we the ones that appropriate? When a budget comes to parliament, does Mr. Museveni respect what parliament does? So I should say the whole system is rotten. The president sang, Systemu yonayafa. That is the reality. The whole system is dead. I can compare the government of Mr. Museveni and his friends as, when they say a person has, they call it total organ failure. You can see me seated here, but when every part of me inside there is simply too rotten.
Yeah.
So there is a lot that we have to do as a country. That's why as NUP, we are pushing so hard to ensure that we bring something new on board. How do we revive the glory of the Pearl of Africa? How can we do things better? There is something I liked about Mr. Uhuru, the mayor. He's a mayor of Kampala Central. When they were in Kololo, when they were interviewing him on a certain TV channel, the man said, if we are to sort out the mess that there is in politics, all this generation must be swept away. Then we bring people, a new breed on board. Others, as long as we still have this old wine in these new bottles, nothing is going to change. We
are voting Jan 15th. We need to change this. Like you said, we can't remain with the same crop of leadership. We can't remain with the same government. You have been on ground in Maogoland, and the entire country have seen you on the presidential rallies. How are our people responding to the campaign?
No, I should say everyone feels that enough is enough for the NRM regime. And people are convinced beyond reasonable doubt that Mr. Museveni cannot change anything when it comes to the leadership of this country. You've seen the way the army is involved in politics. I want to salute Sarah Birete. Sarah Birete made a very good submission. She said, Mr. Museveni, you cannot push this country beyond the wall. Everyone, the army can do what is beyond their mandate. You speak about the rule of law when you cannot respect the constitution. Muhoozi comes out and tells people, when you finish voting on the voting day, please go back home. Since when did the UPDF start engaging
Yes.
itself in the issues of politics? You'll find Mohol speaking about elections, and you ask him, what is your role in this? So as long as you fail to follow the set rules and regulations of the game, once people hold offices, but when they cannot differentiate between office and home, those are the challenges that we do face. Mr. Mohoza at times fails to differentiate between the office of the CDF and the first son. Those two are different. You see? So when it comes to, do Ugandans perceive or do Ugandans feel that time is for change? I should say 100%. You have been observing the rallies of our president. I mean, when it came, people used to think, no, NUP is for Uganda. But I mean, why were people beaten in the north? In Igulu, why did you beat people?
In Rushere.
And in Rushere, you saw in Chiruhura with some of those goons that we are set to destabilize our campaigns. In any case, why do you arrest these young men and women, the Olivias? Why do you arrest them? When NUP opened up a leadership school, in the guise of, let's have at least a training school for leadership, basic leadership skills. Government comes up and starts alleging that, that is an institution that trains, we train who? How do we call it? Abayekera. Terrorists. You reach to an extent, who is Kaija. Kaija is in prison because of carrying out training in a school that is out of, it's a school that is out of, it looked as if government does not recognize that school should be there. So if it's a school that is operating illegally, why do you arrest Kaija and you leave a school opened? I went there sometime, 2 months back for training. The school is there. The owners of the school are there. How do you arrest that young woman and leave whoever started the school? So I should say, as a country, we are ready for change, and people have received the President Kyagulanyi Robert Sentamu with open hands. Leave alone these things of the brutality, the protest that there is. You bring the AME, you bring SFC. You saw what was in Namugga yesterday. Everyone questions, was that called for? How do you start turning the gun against the citizens of the country? We are the taxpayers. We are the taxpayers. Those are our tools. That gun that SFC boy holds, that is our tool. The uniform that you do put up, they are bought by us. So the force that is in charge of keeping law and order has turned
against
its own mandate. People were saying, the NUP, we are violent, where people were stoning the police. But a physical, I was there when the rally ended yesterday in Namugga North. The way when the president left, people were tear gassed, people were beaten, people were brutalized. So if we are to run a country like that, I doubt whether there is anybody who thinks that the NRM government can push us any further. So for me, my clerical call and my humble appeal to every Ugandan out there, let's join hands to ensure that we revive the glory of this country. It's not too late. I know we have lost a lot in the past 40 years. There is a lot to fix, but still it's our duty to sacrifice for the better and the future of the generations to come.
At the risk of repeating yourself, also the risk of, I don't want to reduce you because you're really a national leader, but you're also an MP running in constituency. How's the campaign in the constituency?
For me, I want to thank the people of Magola County. I should say I'm not looking for votes, but this is the only campaign that I've seen where people stand to appreciate their leader. Good enough, I've been having live broadcasts of my campaigns. I should say I want to appreciate the people of Magola County because they've welcomed me with open hands. They have appreciated the little that I've done. And as you saw a week back, I was credited as as the best member of parliament in the central region here. And I surfaced among the 4 women that stood up for nationally, among even the men that stood out as MPs who have done their part.
The fact that you ran as a direct member of parliament and you've been excellent, there's this conversation about women being limited to or reduced running just for the affirmative action seat. But I think you're doing it amazing. No one can say she's a woman. You're doing it better than the male gender and all that. was why I asked about your constituents. I saw the former foreign minister, Sam Kuteesa, saying his duty now in this election is to kick opposition out of Sembabule. How is it possible? And
at times I pity some of our leaders that God has given the opportunity to serve for a reasonable period of time. The Honorable Kuteesa has been in leadership for the last 40 years.
He has been more
and beyond. And he has been given an opportunity to serve in most positions of minister. He was even once a UN
president of the UN
Secretary General. What was he?
He was the president of the Assembly or something. Yes.
Yeah, so he has occupied several spaces. And he made a decision, and he didn't make a decision as such. There is something that the country is forgetting. Honorable Kuteesa had issues of corruption when it came to the UN seat. Yes. And that's the very reason as why Mr. Museveni was pushed for Kuteesa not to be part of his cabinet. The country should not forget that. But that aside, I just want to tell him that, when God gives you the opportunity to serve, make sure you use your time the best way. And I normally encourage the youth, utilize your days, utilize your time. The time for Kuteesa was there, and for me, I believe this is a new chapter. And I was like, instead of, telling people you will wipe the noop out of Sembabule, just ask yourself, what went wrong? What didn't you do as the NRM? You have everything, you have the money, you are in power, but people made a choice of their own leader. I should say, from nowhere. The people of Maogola say, this time round, we are having the first opposition leader in Sembabule. And they are very, very comfortable with the leader that they do have. Now for you,
and she has served. It's not that she's begging.
For you, come and say, we know. And he says it. Do you know what a statement that he made? He said, I accept when it comes to representing the people, when it comes to speaking in parliament, Namugga has done the best. If that is the only way, that is the only reason for voting a member of parliament, I can vote her for speaking in parliament. But he later on said, she has not done anything on ground. I said, yes, thank you if I have not done anything. That means you are discrediting your government. That's a vote of no confidence to your government. It's not Namugga that works on the roads. It's not Namugga that is supposed to provide drugs and medicines in the hospitals. It's not Namugga the reason as to why people are still drawing water, collecting water from dams. So I should say, Honorable Kuteesa's submission, for me, it brought up something in my mind. We must strengthen civic education. If leaders cannot differentiate the roles of a member of parliament and mix it to, because for me, the essence and the reason as to why I'm in parliament, number one, being the voice of the people. If, for example, I speak that we don't have Chabakuza Road, Matete, and tarmacked, for the last 40 years, it has been a promise of the NRM government. And also to remind you, are you aware that when you occupy these spaces, we are implementing the manifesto of the NRM? That is why people pay taxes to that government, to prioritize their needs and necessities. So I should say, for me, I cannot stand here and start telling you, because I should differentiate between the roles of member of parliament and corporate social responsibility. When it comes to the roles of the member of parliament, I've done excellently well. But also when it comes to, for me, what I would term as corporate social responsibility, giving back to the people in things that are not that are purely outside your mandate, I've exceedingly done well. So that is the reason as to why you have seen a batch of Honorable Kuteesa, of Mr. Sodo, of, Katirima, of Anifa Kawea. Everyone is coming up. Namugga, they said, she's the problem for this area. And for me, what I've told the people is make sure you vote this problem back, because the problem is being felt. A tree that bears fruits must be hit. Yes. Because there is something you want to get out of it.
As we come to a close, this is why I disagree there a bit about the need for civic, because Honorable Sam Kuteesa, for example, and I didn't intend for him to be an issue here, is someone who ran in 1980. He has been in parliament for 40 years. He was at the UN for decades. So you wouldn't say that he doesn't know the roles. I think the issue is, as a generation, especially, don't say your generation, mine, I think it's also the lack of role models, because you'd expect that someone at their age, they would be an inspiration. They would be trickling down that knowledge, that experience. But what you're seeing here is someone being out of character, because if it's a member of parliament and then you say she has done an excellent job in parliament, why are you adding a but? Because what else do you want her to but he has not done anything on ground. I think it's part of what the NRM has done wrong is that they have abdicated their role, especially the crop that came out of the bush, and people would be providing direction. I think they are doing a good job at undoing what little people credited them for. But as we come to a close of this episode, we need you to call it a clarion call here, people to come on 15th Jan to vote, protect the ballot, and to make sure they consolidate their success.
2026 is a very special day to every Ugandan, within country and abroad, because it does mean a lot to the future of our children, especially the next 5 years to come. So I want to call upon every Ugandan of every age, of every sex, and of every kind to turn up on the 15th of January, not even turning up alone. As we described our protest vote, this is the time that we must look for the votes door to door. Do whatever you can. The little investment that you can do, make sure that you look for the vote of change. When it comes to the time for voting, please make sure that becomes a public holiday. Participate. We said, when we describe a protest vote as Kanonye, Kalonde, Kakume, Kabanje, we mean it. Now this is a season for looking for that vote. Massively do it. Invest the little that you can. Time, money, advice, all that is wanted. Number 2, make sure that you carry on your sovereign duty of protecting the vote that you will cast. People have come up with different versions. After voting, get back home. Biabakam has given his version. The Moses have come on board. Even Mr. Museveni came up and said, the biometric machines, when the machine fails on the polling station, please, no one should vote. All those statements have been made. But your duty is one. Come on 15th, 2026 and cast your vote. Make sure you get at the polling station as early as 6 in the morning. Make sure you don't go home after voting. After voting, just 20 meters, within the radius of 20 meters, please keep there. Don't go home. Protect your vote up to the time when Mr. Kyagulanyi, our president, is announced as the president of the Republic of Uganda. Number 2, make sure that you vote the umbrella at all levels. The umbrella is the symbol of the National Unity Platform. People have been confusing our people. For me, I'm independent. My symbol is a gun. My symbol is a petrol station. My symbol is a chair. But I support the President Robert Kyagulanyi Center. No, that is a different version. We must close this the best we can. So make sure you turn up in big numbers, because, wherever we vote in big numbers, automatically it is a vote that cannot be stolen. The day on 15th, we are voting members of parliament and the president. That is the president, the area member of parliament, and the woman member of parliament. Make sure you cast your vote on that day. And the only symbol that we do understand as a generation is the umbrella. But also continue praying for our leaders, especially our president. You see the times that he's going through. It is so tough on his part, but also to the community. You've seen how people have been suffering, people have been brutalized. Our colleagues are in prison. Continue praying for them. As we do this, remember those that have sacrificed highly for the good of this revolution. So I call upon you, Ugandans. This is not the assignment of Kyagulanyi alone. It's about you. It's about me. It's our duty to ensure that, we vote a president of our own choice. Yes, you might vote your member of parliament, but if we don't change the upper seat, we want to change the presidential seat, because, the tools of, power, we want to change the presidential seat, because every decision that, affects the way the affairs of this country are conducted is the presidential seat. So make sure on that day, before you look at anything else, begin with the president, Robert Kyagulanyi Sentamu, then proceed with the area member of parliament, proceed to the woman member of parliament. But the only symbol that we do understand is the umbrella. Buli wolaba umbrella ticking. Temwekwasa busonga songa musonga. Finish this assignment, then you will ask the questions later. I want to thank you for this engagement.
Thank you so much, Honorable. Many people have been asking for you. I'm sure you've just done them justice. It was such a nice conversation. Please continue to watch the NUP podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. Please let us know who else you want us to host on this podcast. Have a nice time.